Good morning. The Korean government is discussing measures to keep the Ebola outbreak in West Africa from reaching Korean soil and ensuring the safety of Korean nationals in that region. A ferry carrying some 200 passengers capsizes southwest of Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh. About half of those on board are rescued, but bodies are being found. Korea sends a cosmic ray instrument into space in hopes to find the answers to the mysteries of space. Severe facial asymmetry can bring pain and difficulty for people who suffer from this condition. What are some options for patients? On Korea Today, Tuesday, August 5th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday morning on Korea Today. I'm Kim Young alongside Oh Jin-ju and Kim Min-jung.
Good morning, everyone. For us regular folks, it's just another Tuesday, but for the test takers of Sunung or the college entrance exam, it's a nerve-wracking day. It's D-100.
Wow.
Right, and the most important thing would be to keep their health in good shape for this 100 days left. And experts advise to get at least 5 hours of sleep or take a nap for about 20 to 30 minutes to better concentrate in the afternoon or the evening.
That's right. 5 hours a day, though, is a luxury for them because
Right.
usually they spend like
3,
4
yeah.
hours of sleep, right?
I could hear our viewers say 5 hours. You're supposed to get at least 8, right?
Right.
Well, the Korean Scholastic Ability Test is that big of a deal. And students out there, I guess you're going to have to put that summer break aside for now. Test takers, good luck.
Good luck to all the test takers for the next 100 days. We'll move on and get a check of our top story this morning. Amid growing fears over the Ebola outbreak in West Africa, the Korean government is stepping up measures to keep the deadly virus from entering the country. Officials from the Ministry of Health and Foreign Affairs, as well as the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, met on Monday to discuss strengthening border control and quarantine procedures and to ensure the safety of some 160 Korean nationals who reside in the African countries hit by the virus, including Liberia and Sierra Leone. Seoul is asking various NGOs and missionaries to refrain from visiting the affected regions while also checking the list of attendees at major global events to be held in Korea. Officials believe, though, that the possibility of Ebola resulting in the likes of the 2009 flu pandemic is extremely low. Some of the nation's leading companies, though, including Hyundai Motor and Samsung Electronics, are advising its employees to hold off their business trips to Africa.
If you watch Korean television, you can watch one program from start to finish without commercial interruptions. That may become a thing of the past. The Korea Communications Commission said that if it would deregulate rules governing terrestrial broadcast advertising in efforts to boost the already saturated advertising market in efforts to increase ultra-high definition content production. Currently, the type and the length of commercials between programs are regulated, but the revision would allow for regulations only on the amount of commercial time beginning this year, meaning commercials could be aired at any time during the programs. According to the KCC, more than 80% of visual content comes from terrestrial broadcasters, and funding through advertisements are needed to boost UHD content.
And the number of people passing through Korea's main gateway, Incheon International Airport, per day has hit the highest ever. According to the airport on Monday, the number of travelers leaving from or arriving at the airport stood at over 165,000 the day before. That's up 12% from the previous year. Records also show the number of flights also hit an all-time high at 889, while some 147,000 pieces of luggage were handled on Sunday alone. Airport officials attribute the rise to domestic and international passengers to the start of the peak summer vacation season.
Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. The nation was devastated in April by the death of a soldier who long suffered from severe assaults and abusive treatment by his comrades in his barracks.
The defense minister apologized yesterday over this regrettable incident. And now this issue is on most of the local papers this morning. So we'll check on that first up on Joseon-ilbo. And this headline is what the defense minister has said, which is dignity destroyed during military service, all will be unveiled. There he is in this image, Defense Minister Han Min-gu during a session of the Parliamentary National Defense Committee, deeply bowing to the public to make a formal apology. To give you some background details, in April, a 23-year-old Army private first class surnamed Yoon died after allegedly being hit in the chest by 6 of his colleagues at their barracks of the 28th Division in Yeoncheon, just south of the inter-Korean border. While eating some snacks there, the assault caused a piece of food to obstruct his airway, leading him to die of asphyxiation. Now, if you take a look at this sub-headline, the investigation showed that the victim had long suffered from frequent assault and abusive treatment by his senior soldiers, and the ministry has decided to review applying murder charges thus, rather than manslaughter by negligence against the suspects. The defense minister said such an incident cannot be expected to happen in a civilized society of the 21st century, vowing to reform the military's culture to prevent any recurrence. And now on to some news regarding some lawmakers being grilled by the prosecution over allegations of corruption. Now, this header reads, prosecution's full-blown investigation on lawmakers over alleged graft. Prosecutors yesterday said that a number of lawmakers from both the ruling and opposition parties will be called in this week for questioning. Now, here in the sub-headlines, as they list 3 lawmakers in the main opposition party, New Politics Alliance for Democracy, Shin Ge-ryun, Kim Jae-yoon, and Shin Ha-kyung, they were grilled yesterday by prosecutors for allegations of bribery, such as receiving cash from a school. Now, in the meantime, ruling Saenuri Party lawmaker Cho Hyun-ryong will be summoned by prosecutors tomorrow for questioning over suspicions that he received bribes from a local train parts supplier in exchange for business favors. Now, Representative Park Sang-eun of the ruling party as well will also show up tomorrow for questioning in a separate bribery case. This two-term lawmaker is under suspicion of receiving illegal political funding from candidates nominated to run in the June 4th local elections. And switching gears over onto Joseon-ilbo's side story here regarding a trip by Pope Francis coming up soon. This article is titled, North Korea Turns Down Invite to Attend Pope's Mass at Myeongdong Catholic Cathedral. The South Korean Catholic Church had issued a second request to the North Korean government about half a month ago to allow 10 North Korean Catholics to attend a Mass here in Seoul. Now, as we know, Pope Francis will be visiting Seoul next Thursday, and the church believes that the presence of North Korean Catholics would be a strong symbolic gesture. But as you can see here in the sub-headline, it notes that North Korea has replied with a no, saying that at this point there are just too many things to think about for the North Korean Catholics to be given the green light to pay a visit to Seoul. Now, coincidentally, next Thursday is also the day that Korea and the U.S. will begin their Ulti Freedom Guardian military drills. Now, finally, let's take a look at the Korea Economic Daily for this header. Here in the middle, the header says imported cars sell at full speed, after sales services complaints at full throttle. The title pretty much says it all about this major contrast within the same market. If you take a look at this, it says that we have come upon an era of 1 million imported cars now, with increased sales over the past 2 years, while demand for after-sales service has also increased. Now we'll take a look at the numbers close up here in this graph. The bars on the left signify this big jump in the sales volume of imported cars, that being about 63%, while the bars on the right here represent the increase in the number of after-sales service requests, that being almost 18%. Now, the gray bars are the numbers recorded at the end of 2011, and the blue bars in June of this year. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Tuesday. And now coming up are the stock numbers from Monday.
we are expecting another stifling day today. It's beginning to get really uncomfortable at night, too. I really can't sleep.
Well, you have to remember to just keep yourself calm around times like these. That discomfort index, it does get up there, and tempers can flare up. For more on today's weather, we'll go to Chun Song-cho, who's joining us from the outdoors.
Good morning to you, Song-cho.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I'm reporting live from the Hangang Park in Yeouido. Today is going to be even hotter than yesterday, but it's really the humidity that's going to bother a lot of people. As Typhoon Nakri reduced to a tropical storm 2 days ago, it left behind a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, making the weather conditions quite unpleasant. And not only that, another typhoon is coming our way. Typhoon Halong is expected to come up north and pass through the southwest part of Japan toward the end of this week. An average number of 1.6 typhoons affects Korea annually, and it usually occurs in August and September, but we're looking at 4 typhoons already in 1 month's time. This is due to El Nino hindering the expansion of a high-pressure system over in the North Pacific Ocean, so typhoons tend to head toward Japan and Korea instead of China and Taiwan. As of now, the Korean Meteorological Administration predicts that only the southern part of the Korean peninsula will be indirectly affected by Typhoon Halong this weekend. However, its path can change over time, and it's even stronger and bigger than the previous typhoon, Nakri, so people are still advised to take note of it when planning for this weekend. And with that, let's move on over to get a closer look at today's forecast. Midday highs all across the country surpassed the 30-degree mark, with Seoul and Daegu at 32 and Gangneung the hottest at 33 degrees Celsius. A heat wave advisory has been issued in Gyeongsangbuk-do province. A sprinkle of rain can be expected as well in some parts of the inland areas today and tomorrow as well. This is all for me with the weather forecast. Back to Min-jung.
And breaking news this morning, a new 3-day ceasefire appears to be in place when morning dawns on the Gaza Strip on this Tuesday. We'll get the details on this story with our Eunice Kim, who joins us from the news center. Good morning to you, Eunice.
Good morning, Min-jung.
Now, Eunice, we've seen peace agreements before. The question is, will this one stick this time?
Yeah, I think that's the question a lot of people are asking, given how many ceasefires have fallen apart prematurely in recent days. What we know about this humanitarian truce is that it was accepted by Israel shortly after it was proposed by Palestinian delegates who have been meeting in Cairo. Now, there's no conditions tied to this truce. It would be good for 72 hours or 3 days, beginning Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. local time. That's about 7 hours from now. And both sides, Hamas and Israel, despite their agreement to it, appear suspicious of each other. The development does come as a unilateral 7-hour humanitarian window had expired, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had said Operation Protective Edge would resume and end only when quiet and security are restored for Israelis. Now, the assault in the past 24 hours appeared to be winding down as Hamas rocket fire tapered off, and the Israeli Defense Forces said nearly all of the so-called terror tunnels had been destroyed. Throughout most of Gaza, residents did flood the streets to check on their homes, restock on supplies, and withdraw cash, though, as you can see there, IDF did continue their attacks in the southern town of Rafah. Now, Gaza health officials also say there was an Israeli strike that hit a Shati refugee camp as the truce was beginning, killing 3 people and hurting at least 30 others. Meanwhile, the violence extended to Jerusalem Monday when a Palestinian man rammed a construction vehicle into a bus, killing a passerby. Police also say a suspected drive-by shooting was reported in Jerusalem. Now, a ferry carrying some 250 people has capsized in waters 30 kilometers southwest of Bangladesh's capital of Dhaka. Emergency teams have rescued 100 people and recovered 2 bodies. It is not clear yet what caused the accident, but a local police chief told the AFP that he had heard the ferry was overloaded with passengers and the river was rough. Boat accidents are unfortunately not uncommon in Bangladesh's river network. 50 people died back in May when a ferry sank in the same district. strict.
And lastly, we have some cautious good news in the global fight against the Ebola outbreak. An experimental drug appears to have helped the health conditions of 2 infected American aid workers.
Right. This serum is called ZMapp, and it was developed by a biotech firm based in San Diego, showing promising results when tested on monkeys, but never before had it been tried on humans. That is, until Dr. Ken Brantley, the American who became sick with Ebola after treating patients in Liberia, told his doctors that he would die. Now, according to CNN, that's when this test drug was given to him, and doctors say symptoms such as widespread rash and heavy breathing dramatically improved. He also got strong enough to stand up and walk, and another American health worker working with Samaritan's Purse is said to have shown improvement as well after being administered that medication. She is said to arrive at Emory University Hospital in the U.S. for treatment on this Tuesday. Meanwhile, a new death toll released by the WHO showing totals, the death totals that is through Friday, showed that the regional toll is nearing 900 at 887, with another new case reported in Nigeria, bringing that toll to 2 in that country, and 99 more cases in Liberia to 255. Liberia is requiring cremation of its victims as opposed to burials there. And with that, we'll wrap your look at the global headlines we're following this morning.
And still ahead on Korea Today, will we be able to answer a centuries-old space mystery? What's behind the immense energy behind cosmic rays, and how do they affect the universe? Korea is sending a cosmic ray instrument into space, and we have the details on ID+.
Now, if you're a musical enthusiast, then you're in luck, because this summer musicals are just out there. And the thing is, you just have to wonder, you just have to try to think about which one you're actually going to choose and watch. And joining us to talk more about this is Im Yoon-hee. Good morning. So which one?
Good morning. Right. So there's so many musicals this summer. So the market really has been growing, and that's to meet the demand for musicals here in Korea this summer. Now, as a result, the market has grown fierce in competition between the musicals, and some of them have had to get a little creative in order to reel in the audience. Take a look. The summer is heating up, and so is the competition to bring in audience members. This summer has been full of musical hits, including Broadway's Priscilla, a story about the adventure 2 drag queens and a transsexual woman have in the backcountry of Australia. The bright, colorful costumes and the unique flair to the musical is just one aspect being used to get the attention of this year's musical audience.
Priscilla is a very fun musical that leaves a very light and cheery impression. We put those happy emotions into marketing to the audience.
Another musical debuting in Korea is a story of an undying love. Dracula has recently hit the big stage, and they've concurrently released a musical video showing off the star-studded cast in order to lure in their audience. The power of dance. Broadway 42nd Street takes singing and dancing to a whole new level, impressing audience members with its tap dancing entertainment since its premiere in 1996. And this time around, they've called on the help of teaser music videos, plus a collaboration between a popular jazz group in order to keep the customers coming. And the musical Chicago has earned the respect and recognition of the musical community, now on its 10th season on stage. And another big hit running on its legendary reputation is Cats, this time featuring the original cast for its revival after 6 years from the stage.
Now, these are all very large-scale musicals. I would imagine that it doesn't really need that much promotion on its own, but social networking promotions, it actually does a big part in letting people know about it.
Right, so the internet nowadays is such a big part of our lives, especially with musicals too. You know, they're really taking advantage of social networking systems, you know, things like Facebook. So for instance, Dracula the musical actually released their music video, little teaser clip, and that's really gathered the attention of people, not just here in Korea, but around the world, and has really been sparking attention with that musical around the world as well. But you know, they're also taking advantage of things like Twitters and blogs. For instance, 2 a.m.'s Chogwon actually used the internet to respond to some criticism he was receiving in terms of his role in the musical Priscilla. And so he did receive some criticism, but his response, online really did spark the attention everywhere. And so that in itself has really been gathering publicity for the musical.
All right, you mentioned the name Cho Kwon. I'm pretty sure whatever musical he's going to be in, he's in Priscilla, right?
Right.
So that musical, just because of the fact that Cho Kwon, a 2 a.m. member and an idol, is in there, it'll attract the audience. So the cast is one persuasive factor in bringing in fans.
Right, so musicals really here are not shy about casting some really big names. And so, like I mentioned, 2 a.m.'s Cho Kwon, also JYDay's Kim Jun-soo, another really big name, really popular in Dracula, has been really gathering attention there. But not just with the current cast, but past castings as well. It's interesting. Chicago actually last year cast Lee Han-hee and In Sun-hee, who's very popular figures here in Korea, right? And so their past castings of these characters have really worked to serve to keep this attention going with these musicals and just really bolster the reputation of these musicals as well.
It feels like when Ok Ji-hyun first started in a musical, that's when this whole trend of idols and singers coming in, the musical scene started.
Right, and it's been very successful so far and has really served to kind of push this musical out.
All right, well, thank you very much for that and that whole list of great musicals to watch.
Always a pleasure.
Now, if you were to draw a line right down your face, then you would notice that the right side and the left side differ a lot. So still ahead on Korea Today, we're going to talk about facial asymmetry. Now, it's an ailment that can trigger many problems if it's severe. Today's health check teaches us about facial asymmetry, the pains and difficulties that it brings its patients, as well as some treatment options.
And time now for a news sum up. There wasn't a set price table for car repairs or replacement of auto parts until now, making us wonder what the car mechanic was charging us too much.
It doesn't help when you know little about cars like myself. But a revised law which went into effect last week makes the prices of auto parts available to all. Let's get the details with our Sorang, who joins us from the digital room. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. That's right. Now, judging from the responses online, it seems that almost everyone is happy about this revised law, saying, it's the consumer's right to know these prices and that it'll make transactions more transparent. Now, this new revised law covers all cars, whether it's homegrown or imported, luxury or budget, doesn't matter. As long as it's sold in Korea, the car manufacturer has to comply. They have to list the parts price on their own website, so Hyundai.com or Kia.com, for example, and update this information every 3 months. If they don't, they'll cop a fine of up to $3,000 US. And for the upcoming Incheon Asian Games, around 500 torch relay bearers partook in a launch ceremony. There, they learned how to properly handle the flame and then went for a 2-kilometer practice run to test their new skills. Now, this is the Suwon tree frog. It's a highly endangered species here in Korea, so it's very hard to come by. But after 3 years of intense searching, though, 2 were recently found in their namesake city of Suwon. And as Africa's Ebola death toll grows, so do the fears of the deadly virus spreading into Korea. As a result, an increasing number of international events and overseas volunteer and holiday trips are being cancelled. Meanwhile, one of An Jung-geun's calligraphy works has been donated to the Catholic Church. Now, the late An Jung-geun, as we all know, is most widely known for his independence activism. But he's also renowned for his calligraphy works that he made during his time in prison, including the one that was just donated. So let me show you what it looks like. The 2 large characters there in the middle reads Gyeongcheon, meaning to honor the heavens, in reference to his devout Catholic faith. The smaller characters on the left means written by great Korean An Jung-geun during imprisonment at the Risun prison, March 1910. Below that, you can also see his signature handprint, where his left 4th finger is shorter than it should be. So last month, the Tamwon-dong Catholic Church bought this calligraphic writing from a Buddhist monk for around $500,000 US. And then, as you just saw in the video, it was donated yesterday to the Archdiocese of Seoul. And with that, it's a wrap for today's edition of your Daily News Sum Up.
Efforts are continuing in the U.S. to include Korean history as part of their school curriculum. Recently, 12 school teachers from New Jersey came to Korea to experience and learn Korean history, language, as well as a bit of the culture. We have 2 teachers who took part in this program joining us this morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Melissa Diaz. I am a graduate student of Rutgers Graduate School of Education. I currently teach freshmen and seniors at Tenafly High School in New Jersey, and I currently teach both United States history and East Asian history.
Okay. And you also do teach a little bit of Korean history as well.
Yes, I do. That's part of my freshman course.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us again. And introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Scott Demeter. I'm a history teacher at Bergen County Academies, which is a public high school in northern New Jersey, Bergen County. The school is actually divided up between career focuses everywhere from science, engineering, to medical, performing arts, as well as culinary. I teach freshman history as well as IB, or International Baccalaureate History, which is a global history curriculum.
So tell us, you had a chance to not just travel here in Seoul, but all over Korea. You had a chance to visit several schools,
Yes.
as well as listen to lectures by other university professors here. Tell us about some of the experiences that you've had.
We've had incredible experiences, really, from the moment that we got here. We've had several lectures at Kyunghee University, one talking about modern Korean history, which is wonderful to be able to do. We visited several museums, including the National Museum, which is also excellent because it provides a lot of resources that I can now bring back to my classroom about Korean history.
Mm-hmm. Okay, many of your students you mentioned, we'll be getting to that in just a moment, but Mr. Demeter, how was the experience for you?
It's been unbelievable, definitely more than I expected. The opportunity to meet with experts in the fields, whether we're dealing with economics, whether we're dealing with immigration patterns, even relations dealing with North Korea, it kind of gave a different look that's different from what we often hear in the West. So it's a much more hands-on perspective. And also being a history teacher, to physically be to the places that I'm teaching about and actually being able to talk to experts about those places has been really eye-opening. In particular, in the picture that you have in the background, he kind of pointed out some of the concerns we have about history programs, in the fact that a lot of times we seem to be restricted through the Japanese occupation, the Korean War, and a lot of times it does seem to move to the sidelines of history. And this has really given me new insights of how to bring more modern, more diverse historical education to my students.
So tell us about how many people, or what's the population, as well as history being added, or Korean history being added to as a curriculum. I mean, what do you think, how do you think this will change things, and what kind of a difference do you think this will make?
I think really what my school has decided to really kind of embark on is this idea to a global perspective to history. And it's a very unique kind of approach, and it's one of the reasons why I love where I work and I love my department there at Tenafly, because of the idea that we understand history as a global perspective, that they're almost like pieces to a puzzle, and it's not until you put all the pieces together that you can get an entire picture and you can sit there and appreciate it and then really see the themes that run throughout history. So inclusion of areas in history is very important.
What are your thoughts?
In the same way, as I mentioned earlier, our student population has actually broken the 51% is now from Asian, primarily Korean population. So again, being able to offer, again, a global perspective on history, whereas opposed to in the past, history was kind of taught section by section. Right. Each place existed separate from itself. Now kind of combining it again, looking at the interactions between different cultures, and also looking at the positives as well as negatives of those interactions. It gives the students a better understanding of where we are now, and that makes the history much more relevant to them as opposed to just facts on a page. It gives them a better understanding of the world that they live in.
Absolutely.
Okay. It was great having you in the studio this morning, and thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your stay, and
thank you.
We do hope to see you again.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you.
감사합니다.
A cutting-edge, high-energy cosmic ray detector built using Korean technology is set to be deployed to the International Space Station aboard a NASA cargo shuttle for a 3-year mission. It's the first Korean-developed equipment to be used in a global-scale space project.
Right, and along with this ray detector, a small space telescope developed by a research team in Korea has been loaded onto a Russian satellite. Let's first take a look at what these devices will be doing in space.
Cosmic rays are a form of massive energy that travel around in space and cannot be created by humans on Earth.
Cosmic rays include multiple substances that come in from space, such as particles and radiation. There are atomic nuclei, such as iron, hydrogen, carbon, and also gamma rays, electrons, and other substances.
Cosmic rays that reach Earth are speculated to be part of the reason behind communication disruptions, mutations, cancer, and even disasters such as damaging the ozone layer.
How these particles achieve these so high energies, in other words, how do cosmic accelerators work, is the main question, one of the big mysteries in astrophysics, and that's what we are trying to understand.
Using homegrown technology, Korean researchers have managed to develop a cosmic ray detector that can examine cosmic rays in great detail. The high-energy cosmic ray detector, for the first time in Korean history, will be handed over to NASA to be installed at the International Space Station, and it will help answer questions about unknown fields in space.
The detector that we're going to attach to the space station detects the substances in the atomic nuclei, and it can detect up to 99% of the material ranging from hydrogen to iron.
A particle detector is roughly 1 meter in width and length and has 2,500 semiconductor wafers installed side by side. 4 of these detectors stacked up creates the world's most powerful cosmic ray detector. When an atomic nucleus passes through the semiconductor sensor, it leaves a fine electric signal, and upon detecting this, the device measures the substance of the cosmic rays.
When the cosmic rays go through the sensor on the sensor picks up the electric charge, and depending on the volume, it compares it to the energy values that we know of from the particles, dividing it up into hydrogen, helium, carbon, iron, and others. The data collected is sent to Earth via the space station.
There's also speculation that cosmic rays that reach Earth trigger mega lightning in the upper layers of the atmosphere. Mega lightning refers to lightning that occurs above the clouds, and it's roughly 1,000 times the size of regular lightning. Scientists believe mega lightning could be the cause of airplane crashes, so it's imperative they learn more about the phenomenon. Last month on the 9th, in the early hours of the day, a small-scale space telescope developed with Korean technology was sent into space, loaded onto a Russian satellite, in order to study mega lightning.
The main role of a space telescope is to instantaneously capture mega lightning, and we never know when it's coming. And look at how it relates to the particles in space and the effect it has on weather patterns on Earth.
A space telescope can capture the high-speed occurrence of mega lightning using a cutting-edge camera. With minuscule mirrors attached, it identifies flashes and quickly changes direction to detect the mega lightning.
This telescope has 2 types of optical systems. One is a trigger optics and the other is zoom-in optics, which follows the subject and magnifies the image. If the trigger optics picks up something like mega lighting, the sensor reacts and changes the direction of a minuscule mirror in the zoom-in optics so that it can capture the subject. The data collected like this is stored in the satellite and then transmitted back to Earth.
There are high hopes that the cosmic ray detector and space telescope will offer the first step in obtaining answers to the secrets of cosmic rays.
And to tell us more about this cosmic ray detector and telescopes, we're now joined by Professor Park Il-hung from Homegrown University's research team behind these projects. Welcome to the program,
Good
Professor.
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Professor. So you've developed a cosmic ray detector and also a telescope to detect and to keep an eye on these cosmic rays. What's important about detecting these and studying this?
Okay, the universe is made of light and matter. And the matter is built with particles. Light can move fast at the speed of light, as you know. Some of the particles can move fast as well, nearly at the speed of light. That's what we call cosmic ray. Cosmic rays are everywhere, as you know. For example, cosmic ray hit us all the time, passing through our body 10 times every second. However, we don't know about the cosmic ray. We don't know where it comes from, how it was created, and how it arrived at Earth. It's a 100-year-old mystery in fundamental science.
Okay, Professor Park, I can assure you that I'll never be mistaken for a science whiz, and all of this is really confusing and difficult for us to understand. Now, these rays hit the Earth as well as they come into the Earth and the layer, I suppose, in this environment. Why can't we study them as they're in this space instead of going to outer space?
Yeah, that's true. If you go to the space, it costs a lot. However, the Earth has an atmosphere, so cosmic ray hit the Earth and interact with the air molecules to produce a variety of secondaries, which can be all types of particles and light as well. So what you see on the ground are only secondaries, so you cannot see any primary cosmic ray is. So the best and direct way to see the cosmic ray is to go to the space.
Yeah, the origin, the source, right?
That's right.
Right. And what were some of the challenges you came across while you were working on these projects?
Okay, I'm an astrophysicist. Particularly, I'm interested in doing experiment in space. So we are building creative experimental apparatus, the tracking telescopes. However, the opportunity to get them flown to the space is extremely rare in our country. That's why I went to Russia and America for collaboration in space projects. Of course, having opportunity, launch opportunity from Russia and working together with NASA as a key partner would not be possible without our attractive ideas and technologies.
Right.
Okay, Professor, so it's the first time for Korea to put a cosmic ray detector on the International Space Station and also a telescope on a Russian satellite. Now, how much does this do for Korea's space program, and what does it do for its position in as a space power?
We delivered our large silicon detector to the NASA for NASA big space project. This is the first time in Korea. We are very proud of our role in such a first-rate science project in space. In July 9th, we also flew our tracking telescope on board Russian satellite. This is a sort of role model of success in the university level and non-governmental level cooperation between Russia and Korea. So we hope to see more of these events and examples in the near future. However, I cannot say we are about to be a leader soon in the field of space technology, but we do something which are inevitable to be a leader in the future.
And Korea is a latecomer in this space race, so no small feat there. Now, what kind of future plans do you have?
We are preparing for more exciting, more challenging experiment in space. For example, we want to launch our serious version of a tracking telescope on board the Russian satellite again next year. This project is called UFFO, which stands for Ultra Fast Flash Observatory. We hope to see or capture the first moment of gamma ray burst, which is the most energetic explosion in the universe since the Big Bang. And then we are about to understand our early universe as well as the extreme nature of our universe.
Thank you so much, Professor. You made it so much easier for us to digest all this information.
Thank you very much, I hope.
Thank you, and good luck to you in the future.
Thank you.
And a good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off in football, where former South Korean national football team head coach Homegrown left Korea for LA, but not before a brief press conference. Now, the former head coach, who has been at the center of criticism after the winless group stage results during the 2014 Brazil World Cup, stated that the past month was mentally exhausting, but left with some positive comments, stating that no one becomes great unless they go through moments of failures as well. Now, he vowed to return to coaching once again, whether it be the national team or as a head coach of another team. Meanwhile, the KFA continues to struggle in finding his replacement, as FC Seoul head coach Choi Young-soo and Pohang Steelers head coach Hwang Sun-ong stated that they're not interested in the position as an interim head coach of the national team. Now, staying with football, history was made on Monday when a Korean sports marketing firm became a first in purchasing a European football club after Sportisan, a Seoul-based firm, purchased AFC 2Biz. Now, after all the paperwork were finalized on Monday, Sportisan became the owners of a second-tier Belgium club team. The team, which was established back in 1953, was promoted to the first tier in 2008 before being relegated again. But the sports marketing firm has big plans for the team, stating that they will bring in young talents from Korea and hopefully get promoted to the first tier once again before earning a ticket to the Europa League. Now, AFC 2Biz produced some of the best young talents in Belgium in the past, such as Eden Hazard. And now moving over to the KBO, where one foreign pitcher was in the spotlight after a shocking incident on Sunday. Now, during Sunday's game between the NC Dinos and the SK Wyverns, NC Dinos righty Charlie Sharek got into a huge argument with the home plate umpire over balls and strikes. But after a brief back and forth, the American was seen yelling a number of profanity at the ump. And while he was fined $2 million, or a little less than $2,000 US, he has to also volunteer 40 hours to youth baseball as his punishment. Now, Sharek, who's actually known as one of the nicest players in the league, came out on Monday to apologize, stating that he's sorry and that he's embarrassed for his actions. Meanwhile, he's currently 9-5 with an ERA of 2.84 this season. Well, now staying with baseball, 8 teams try to make up their rained-out games on Monday. But once again, 3 of the games were canceled again due to the rainy weather. But the LG Twins and the Nexen Heroes got their game in, so let's take a look at the highlights. Now we go over to the game here. Second inning, Nexen strikes first thanks to Kim Min-sung's RBI double to left as Park Byung-ho comes in to score for a 1-0 lead. But here come the LG Twins in the bottom of the inning. Park Young-soo sac fly to center ties the ball game up before Chung Sung-hoon here. He's going to walk with the bases loaded for a 2-1 lead. But we're not done yet. Hwang Mok-chi-sung here, a clutch 2-run single up the middle, scores 2 more as the LG Twins take the lead 4-1. But the 4th inning with 1 man on, Kang Jong-ho, that's number 31 in the season, and Nexen cuts the deficit to 4-3. Despite all that, the LG Twins add a couple more in the 6th inning of the game as they continue to run away with it, hanging on to win this game 6-4. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Everyone wants to have a perfect face. It can leave people with a good impression and also make you look more credible. But in reality, it's hard to find anyone with a perfectly symmetrical face. Facial asymmetry can be largely divided into 3 categories: asymmetry caused by skeletal differences between the left and right, soft tissue differences where the amount of flesh on each side differs, or a combination of the two. The problem is, if the degree of this asymmetry is severe, it can cause trouble with pronunciation, malocclusion that can lead to pain in the jaws, and even chronic gastrointestinal disturbances. We look at the problems associated with facial asymmetry, which can cause aesthetical and functional problems, and how to correct them.
You know, I'm not sure if our viewers or any of you have noticed, but I do have sort of an asymmetrical face.
Really?
My jaw does
notice.
tilt this way to the right, left, just a little tad bit.
No.
Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have told you guys, right?
No.
All right, but to talk more about facial asymmetry, joining us is Dr. Nam Dong-woo from Kyunghee University Korean Medicine Hospital. Good morning.
Good morning.
And also Dr. Choi Seung-woo from the SNC Chicago Dental Hospital. Good morning.
Good morning to both of you. Now, we saw some examples of severe facial asymmetry, and we also saw some perfect faces, but not a lot of people have perfectly symmetrical faces. What causes facial asymmetry?
Well, the causes of facial asymmetry can be divided into three main categories. The first one is congenital, originating prenatally, such as cleft lip and palate, neurofibromatosis, and vascular disorders. The second is developmental, arising during growth. The causes of many cases of developmental asymmetry is indistinct, but one possible source is bad habit, like
chewing with
just one side, right?
Maybe that's what
That's
you've
exactly
been
what I
doing
did. I had
too much
cavities on the side, so I just kept chewing with my left.
Well, no need to share it with us, the details, but sure. Okay, what about in Korean medicine? How do you see this facial asymmetry coming from?
Yes, well, daily bad habits will be the main cause, but also bad postures that will influence the alignment of the cervical spine or thoracic spine can also be another cause. So if your alignment is ruined, it will twist your muscles and make your neck and shoulders very tense, and then it will pull down on your cheeks and make it asymmetric. And then, so if you restore the alignment and relax your muscles, it will let go of the cheeks and the asymmetric will be solved.
So the structure of the jaw seems to be closely related to this condition. Is there any way we can find out what causes this problem, or are there any symptoms that we can look out for?
Well, the symptoms are associated with TMJ, which is temporomandibular joint disorder, vary greatly. And almost all the symptoms could be a symptom of some other medical disease. But here are the list of self-diagnoses of TMJ disorder. So the first one is clicking or popping sound in jaw joint. As you know, the jaw joint area is around here. And the B is jaw gets stuck, either open or closed.
Lockjaw, right?
Right. C, difficulty in opening your jaw widely. D, jaw deviates to side when opening wide. And the next one is tenderness in muscles of face or jaw. The last one is pain in area of jaw joint.
So when you go on a dental appointment, when you are asked to open the mouth wide, and it's sometimes hard to do that, and then it makes that sound.
That clicking sound, right?
Okay. So that could be a sign, right?
Hey, Dr. Nam, the question is, how do you know when to seek treatment? I mean, how severe are some of the problems? I mean, everyone goes through some soreness in the jaws every now and then, so how do you know when to seek treatment?
Well, there's no golden standard for deciding whether you need medical treatment or not, but if you have any self-TMJ dysfunction symptoms or maybe tenderness on your neck or shoulder, this can progress into other conditions. So for preventive purposes or curative purposes, you should visit your doctor.
We have a short clip ready for you for some treatment options in Korean and Western medicine. Take a look.
Shimgun-taek has been struggling with problems associated with facial asymmetry and has decided to receive surgery. Before the operation, his jaw was twisted toward the left, so he had to receive corrective jaw surgery.
My jaws are misaligned when I chew, so I have trouble with digestion. And because I have facial asymmetry, my jaw joint hurts when it comes loose a lot. So that's why I decided to get surgery.
Corrective jaw surgery is performed to correct the misalignment of the upper and lower jaw, as well as dental or skeletal irregularities to enhance the functions of the teeth and jaw.
We first need to determine the severity of the condition, and if it's something that can be resolved through dental braces, that's the measure that we take.
Dental braces expedite the movement of the dental structure to correct asymmetry and reduce the risks of surgery and the difficulties of recovery. In Korean medicine, cervical spine correction is used to straighten out the body and improve the conditions of facial asymmetry. Cervical spine correction is a procedure that rectifies the cervical vertebrae and jaw joint. It uses a medical hammer to stimulate the vertebrae and correct it along with the jawbone. In the case where there is more muscle or fat on one side of the face, a method called Meson acupuncture therapy is used. Meson therapy embeds a medicinal thread harmless to the body and treats asymmetry in the muscles.
Tell us a little about this cervical spine treatment. I imagine it's not a one-time affair.
Well, just a single session of treatment can make a difference, but because our body is very used to the bad posture for a long period of time, you will tend to return to the bad alignment. So maybe we recommend 2 or 3 times a week for 3 months or 6 months.
So regularly until you do get that posture down.
Yes.
How about in children? And when you see facial asymmetry in children, do you have to wait until they're done with their development, or do you have to get it as soon as you detect facial asymmetry in children?
Well, the treatment of growing children of facial asymmetry is often difficult with unpredictable result. So when parents think their children has facial asymmetry, they need to get the consultation with specialists such as orthodontist or a surgeon. And then, once again,
when it's caught early, can braces, something simple as braces, just fix that?
Sometimes, if it's a true dental asymmetry, then it can be fixed.
Okay.
Right. But when there is a like skeletal asymmetry, then you need to consider the surgery later. So you need to finish the orthodontic treatment first.
I see. So consult your doctor first.
Right.
Right. But if the condition is not too severe, I believe that there are some tips or exercises we can use for the problems for our jaws and necks.
Yes. Well, the most important aspect will be to keep a good posture and always keep your neck and shoulders soft. So do stretching every now and then. And also you can massage points. I have a picture.
Okay.
This point is called Pungji.
Very nice picture, doctor.
Yes. It will make your neck soft. And also this point is called Gyeonjong, which will make your shoulders soft. And also I brought a wooden pillow today. And you could use something like this to lean your head back while you sleep, and it will stretch your neck so the ligaments will be softened and the pressure on the intervertebral disc will be reduced.
Interesting.
And also, we have this medical hammer.
You brought a hammer.
Try it on Kim Young.
I'm not sure if I want to let you try that.
No, it doesn't work.
Okay.
So on the cervical spine, we tap it. So it's just like cracking your knuckles, and it will loosen up the spines. And
I actually felt kind of good.
Yes.
A little harder now.
Can you do that again? Just to, right. So you don't have to be a doctor to be doing this.
You can just do it for your dad or mom.
Don't hit too hard to break the bones or something.
Okay, so just along the spine.
Yes.
Okay, don't use it for any other purpose.
Yes.
Use it for medical purposes
All
only,
right.
right?
And Dr. Che, are there any daily tips that we can use to prevent the condition?
Well, you cannot prevent the congenital, but some case, if it's a developmental facial asymmetry, then you can prevent. So, for example, you can stop the habitual bite on one side
Right.
or persistent sleeping on one side. If there is a tooth missing area, then you need to restore that space as soon as possible. Otherwise, your facial bone will change.
For developmental facial asymmetry, I would say I would imagine that a regular visit to the dentist and also the doctor to take a look at you would be
Also,
good.
the hammer would come in handy from time to time.
You're not studying.
Also for that matters.
All right, well, thank you to both of you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, that just about does it for this edition of Korea Today.
All right, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you here on Wednesday morning at 7.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
We see that hammer again.